Tonight, we're going to tell you a story that spans nearly 4,000 years. It begins deep in the jungles of Central America, long before anyone in Europe had even heard of the Atlantic Ocean. It ends, if you can call it ending, somewhere in the present day, with 6 million people who still speak the old languages and remember what their ancestors built. This is the story of the Maya. It's a story most of us think we know in fragments. Something about a calendar, something about 2012, maybe something about a ball game played to the death, or human sacrifice, or a mysterious collapse that left great stone cities swallowed by the forest. But those fragments, they're just pieces of a much larger picture. And when you put them all together, what you find is not a single mystery, it's a whole chain of them. How did a people with no metal tools, no wheels, and no beasts of burden build cities that still stand in the heart of the jungle? How did they figure out mathematics, astronomy, and time itself with a precision that Europe wouldn't match for another 1,000 years? How did they simply disappear, and yet not really disappear at all? Tonight, we're going to answer all of those questions, slowly, carefully, the way a story should be told. Get comfortable. Turn the lights down. We're going to the Maya.
The story of the Maya civilization is not just a tale of an ancient people. It's a mystery stretched over more than 3,000 years. Scholars divide their history into 3 periods: early, classic, and post-classic. These boundaries are not absolute, but they help us understand how small settlements grew into great cities, how gods, calendars, and astronomy emerged, and how it all eventually declined. Today, we travel back to the very beginning, to a time when everything was just taking shape. A time when the first Maya carved paths through dense tropical forests to build their first homes and cultivate the land. The earliest settlements appeared around 2000 BCE. These were small villages hidden among the foliage, where people had already adopted a sedentary way of life. They grew maize, beans, squash, chili peppers, and cacao, crops that would become the foundation of their world. Maize, or corn, held a special place. For us, it's just food. For them, it was the source of life. According to their myths, the gods created the first humans from maize dough, granting them both mind and soul. But the Maya were not the first to explore the mysteries of numbers and the heavens. Along the coast of the Gulf of Mexico, another great culture was already flourishing, the Olmecs. They created the first writing systems, developed calendars, and laid the foundations of rituals that the Maya would later inherit. The Olmecs passed down their understanding of sacred cycles of time, the concept of zero, and the feathered serpent, a being that would eventually become the great Kukulkan. Yet the Maya went further. They didn't just adopt knowledge, they refined it. From their calculations emerged the most accurate calendar of the ancient world, and one of the most mysterious writing systems, where each glyph was simultaneously a sound, an image, and a kind of spell.
Around 1000 BCE, the first cities began to rise. One of the oldest is Nakbe, in what is now Guatemala. Archaeologists have uncovered stone platforms and pyramids there, the first steps toward the towering structures that would later appear in Tikal and Chichen Itza. During this period, a special class of priests emerged, not merely religious leaders, but the scholars of their time. They observed the stars, made calculations, recorded rituals, and managed communities. They became the guardians of knowledge and the vital link between gods and humans. As cities grew, so did power. Chiefs became rulers, authority was passed down through dynasties, and each lineage claimed divine origin. Alliances were formed, wars were fought, and fortifications were built. The Golden Age, rise and fall of the Classic Era. We enter the Classic period of Maya civilization, a time when humble settlements transformed into magnificent city-states, temples reached for the sky, and science and art soared to incredible heights. This was the Golden Age of the Maya, an era of rulers whose names were carved in stone, an era of achievements across countless fields. But it was also a time of wars, intrigue, and power struggles, as cities rose, expanded their influence, and clashed in fierce conflicts. Each major Maya city was unique, with its own identity and role in history. They differed in architecture, political ambitions, and even in the way they waged war. Tikal stands as a legend among Maya cities. The mighty city of the jaguar, deep in the jungles of Guatemala, became a center of political power and one of the era's key military strongholds. Its pyramids towered above the surrounding landscape, and its rulers claimed dominion over the wider civilization.
The main temple, rising among Tikal's ruins, was known as the Temple of the Great Jaguar. The jaguar symbolized power, the night, and the underworld. In Maya mythology, it was associated with the god of the underworld and revered as the protector of warriors and kings. The Temple of the Great Jaguar served as the tomb of Hassa Chan Kawil I, a powerful ruler who sought to extend his influence through military conquest. The jaguar embodied predatory strength, and the ruler was presented as its living incarnation. The temple walls are adorned with images of the king seated on a jaguar skin throne, and the inner chambers were filled with artifacts representing authority and victory. Tikal was also a hub of military campaigns. Its armies were strong, its allies numerous, and its enemies had good reason to fear its claws. But if Tikal was the jaguar, Calakmul was the serpent. Located in what is now Mexico, this city was Tikal's chief political rival. Its rulers bore the title Divine Serpent, and the city symbol was a massive snake coiling around the earth. In Maya culture, the serpent represented wisdom, cunning, and control over life and death. Unlike Tikal, which built its empire through warfare, Calakmul thrived on political intrigue. It wove alliances, plotted conspiracies, and slowly weakened its rival. For 2 centuries, Calakmul gathered a coalition of cities in an attempt to destroy Tikal.
it won several battles, eroding the city's military strength. But in the 6th century, Tikal rallied its forces, crushed Calakmul, and reasserted its dominance. This war became one of the longest and most destructive conflicts in Maya history, leading to the collapse of entire dynasties, the ruin of dozens of cities, and the weakening of the civilization as a whole.
While Tikal and Calakmul fought for supremacy, Copan and Palenque emerged as centers of science, art, and engineering. Copan developed a unique writing system, and its rulers sought to leave their mark on history through stone inscriptions carved into temple and palace steps. Palenque, in turn, became a jewel of architecture. It housed the Temple of the Inscriptions, the tomb of the great ruler Pakal the Great. His sarcophagus and jade funerary mask became some of the most remarkable archaeological discoveries of the 20th century. Sacred wars and the warrior cult. For the Maya, war was more than just a struggle for land or power. It was a ritual, a sacred act connecting humans with the gods, a chance to prove valor and strengthen a ruler's authority. The warrior acted as a mediator between this world and Xibalba, the underworld of the dead. From a young age, boys were trained to become warriors. They were taught that a man's true strength lay in his ability to fight, capture enemies, and offer them as sacrifices to the gods. Success in battle brought fame, respect, high social standing, and the opportunity to join the elite. The more captives a warrior brought back, the higher his status. The Maya didn't just gather soldiers, their fighters underwent strict selection. Only those willing to dedicate their lives to capture enemies, to fight fearlessly for their ruler, and to die for the gods could become warriors. Professional soldiers were called Holkan, warriors who endured rigorous training. They mastered archery, spear throwing, swordsmanship, and the art of moving unseen through the jungle. Above them were the Alaween, elite noble warriors who commanded units and fought on the front lines. They wore the finest armor, led personal squads, and could challenge enemies to one-on-one combat.
The supreme commander was known as the Nakhom, a strategist and tactician who directed the entire army, planned campaigns, selected targets, and bore responsibility for victory or defeat. Finally, the Aha, the ruler himself, often led troops into battle personally. He embodied the god of war, and his presence on the battlefield was believed to ensure triumph. Among all warriors, the elite held a special place. They stood out in battle and were seen as emissaries of the gods, embodiments of ancient powers. Jaguar warriors wore the pelts of predators, moving swiftly and silently. They struck without warning, shattered enemy formations, captured commanders, and vanished into the night. Their tactics mirrored the hunt in the wild: stealth, patience, and sudden attacks. Their faces were painted, black stripes cut across their skin, eyes gleaming in the moonlight. Their steps were silent, their strikes lightning fast. They didn't fight, they hunted. Before attacking, they howled, growled, and mimicked the roar of jaguars. The beastly cries struck terror into their enemies, breaking their will to resist. Strikes were precise and deadly. Their weapon, the maquahuitl, a wooden sword lined with obsidian blades, tore flesh like the claws of a real jaguar. They rarely killed immediately.
Instead, they disarmed, broke bones, but left their captives alive, for their blood was destined to be offered atop the pyramid. Night was their ally. Jaguar warriors moved like shadows, emerging and disappearing among the jungle to surround their enemies. They knew when to wait and when to strike. If jaguars ruled the darkness, the serpent warriors controlled strategy itself. They rarely attacked head-on. Instead, they infiltrated enemy cities, sowing chaos. They whispered treachery, bribed guards, and opened gates just as the army approached. They won battles without fighting whenever possible.
Serpent warriors wore snakeskin armor and gold serpent amulets, their bodies inked with coiled serpent tattoos. They were under the protection of Kukulkan, the feathered serpent, god of wisdom and destructive power. Their preferred weapons were poisoned spears, and they struck swiftly at throats and livers, slipping silently among enemy lines. When night faded, the eagle warriors took the field. They were thunder, storm, the wrath of the sun itself. They did not hide or wait. They struck with overwhelming speed and power. Eagle warriors adorned themselves with eagle feathers, their faces painted in gold and red patterns, representing the sun's heat and the blood of foes. They raised their arms to mimic flight, their battle cries echoing for miles. Eagles attacked first, breaking enemy ranks with projectiles, spears, and massive swords, raining down destruction from above. If the battle dragged on, jaguar and serpent warriors would finish the enemy. None could escape once all three types were engaged. The Maya did not fight on open plains. Their battlegrounds were jungles, mountains, and walled cities. They avoided frontal assaults, appearing where least expected. Controlling water was a favorite strategy. A city could endure for years with food, but without water, it fell within days. Rivers were poisoned, supply lines cut, and wells blocked. Fear was another weapon. Before battle, warriors howled, displayed the skulls of sacrificial enemies, staged feints, all to break the enemy's spirit. Battles were performances, carefully orchestrated to crush the opponent before they even realized what was happening. And the captives, they became offerings to the gods. Prisoners were paraded through city streets for all to see, and at the journey's end, priests awaited atop pyramids. Hearts were ripped from chests, and blood spilled across stone to nourish the gods.
Not all captives were sacrificed immediately. Some served as slaves, and high-value prisoners, like rulers or great warriors, might be spared. Their heads were shaved, they were dressed as captives, and they served their new masters. Why did they disappear? The fall of the Maya civilization. By the 9th century, the Maya city-states began to fade. It wasn't a sudden collapse or a catastrophe that happened overnight, but a slow, painful process. One by one, people abandoned once mighty centers, leaving streets empty and temples deserted. Yet this end marked the beginning of a new era. The South, once vibrant and powerful, fell into darkness. Meanwhile, in the sun-scorched north of the Yucatan, a new world was emerging. Cities that had long competed suddenly faced the same fate. Trade caravans vanished, markets fell silent. Noble houses, once gleaming with gold and jade, gathered dust. People left everything behind: fields, homes, ancestral altars. The jungle swallowed temples, and priests who had once called upon the gods now fled in fear. What had happened?
Why did a civilization capable of building astonishing cities and unlocking the secrets of the stars suddenly lost its strength? Some believe a great drought struck. The rains that had nourished the land for centuries stopped, reservoirs dried up. Without water, maize could not grow, and thousands could not be sustained. Others argue the cities destroyed themselves, caught in a whirl of bloody wars. Great rulers, desperate to maintain power, fought one another, tearing down everything they had built. Whatever the cause, one thing is certain: the southern lands, once shining with grandeur, were emptied. But this did not mean the Maya story had ended. They did not vanish, they simply relocated. The legend of Kukulkan and the 2012 prophecy.
The Yucatan, a vast peninsula of rocky plains and dry forests, became the new home for those fleeing the fallen southern cities. There were no dense jungles or deep rivers, but there were cenotes, natural wells filled with fresh water, life-giving sources that allowed new cities to rise. Here, powerful centers such as Chichen Itza, Uxmal, and Mayapan emerged. As travelers approached Chichen Itza, they would encounter a world unlike any southern Maya city. Something unfamiliar, something new. Great temples reached for the sky, like in Tikal, yet their architecture was different. Stone halls were wider and more massive, and decorations appeared that had never before been seen in Maya culture. In the main plaza stood the Pyramid of Kukulkan, a stepped temple that transformed into a mysterious spectacle each spring and fall. When the sun struck it at a precise angle, a shadow of a giant serpent appeared along the steps, as if the god himself was descending to the earth. Locals spoke of warriors who had come from the north, unlike anyone seen before. Their skin was darker, their rituals unlike the native customs. They wore armor adorned with serpents and feathers, wielded unfamiliar weapons, and their gods spoke a different language. These were the Toltecs, people from lands that would later give rise to the legendary Aztec Empire. They brought new philosophies, religions, methods of war, and above all, their god, Kukulkan, the feathered serpent. Kukulkan was a god of civilization, order, and knowledge, but also of war and authority. He demanded not only obedience, but blood. On Chichen Itza's courts, once used for the sacred ballgame, prisoners' heads rolled across the stones as priests performed sacrifices. Victims were cast into cenotes, believed to carry their souls to the gods' underworld. On ritual altars, warriors' heads were removed and raised to the sky as offerings.
The Yucatan was not a unified state. It was a collection of cities, each vying for supremacy. Chichen Itza fell. Uxmal rose. Uxmal declined. Mayapan ascended. But none could hold dominion over the land for long. The Maya, who had built civilizations for centuries, now tore them apart with their own hands. Their cities were raided by neighbors, their power undermined by intrigue, and their priests prayed to gods who remained silent. And on the horizon, a new threat slowly approached. From across the ocean, from lands unknown to them, ships sailed, carrying men in gleaming armor, armed with fire,
and deadly disease. The Spaniards. Their arrival would change the Maya world forever. Through the humid air of the Yucatan, above the green jungles and ancient temples, came the first ominous sound. Heavy sails billowed in the wind, and ships unlike anything the Maya had ever seen dropped anchor along the shore. On that day, when the Spaniards first set foot on Maya land, the final chapter of their history began. In 1511, a Spanish ship sailing from Panama to Hispaniola was caught in a storm. The wind howled like the voice of an ancient god, tearing at the sails. Waves battered the wooden hull until the vessel finally broke upon the reefs. 30 men clung to debris, struggling to reach land, unaware of where they were or who awaited them. As the first Spaniards stepped ashore, armed warriors surrounded them immediately. Obsidian-bladed macahuitlas, drawn bows, and spears tipped with bone pointed at the strangers. The Maya had not expected visitors, and they trusted them even less. The surviving Spaniards were taken prisoner. Some were killed on the spot, others were soon sacrificed to the gods. Hearts were ripped from chests atop pyramid platforms, blood flowed over the stones, and skulls adorned ritual altars. Yet 2 men survived.
One of the survivors was Gonzalo Guerrero. Not just a sailor, he was a warrior who understood what it meant to fight and to survive. He quickly realized that if he wanted to live, he had to become one of them. He learned their language, adopted their customs, earned their respect, and became one of the Maya. Gonzalo Guerrero became a warrior, married the daughter of a local chief, and had children. When the Spaniards returned to the Yucatan years later, he stood with the Maya. He faced them with an obsidian blade in hand, his face tattooed in Maya patterns, his body painted with warrior markings. He died as a Maya, defending his adopted homeland. The other survivor, Jeronimo de Aguilar, took a different path. He remained a captive, but held on to his faith and culture. Years later, when Hernán Cortés arrived, Aguilar joined him, becoming a translator and intermediary between the Spaniards and the peoples of the Yucatan. This division, the choice between Maya and Spain, foreshadowed what would soon happen to the entire civilization. In 1517, Spanish captain Francisco Hernández de Córdoba led a fleet to the Yucatan coast. This time, their arrival was no accident, but a deliberate expedition. They sought gold, new lands, and people to conquer. The Spaniards landed. Maya rulers, priests, warriors, and villagers greeted them with gifts: cotton textiles, cacao, and jade ornaments. They had no idea what awaited them. The Spaniards examined the treasures, touched the fabrics, tasted the cacao. But their eyes showed no delight. They sought gold, and the Maya had none. Soon, the peaceful encounter turned into slaughter. The Spaniards struck first. Their steel swords cut through Maya shields and armor. Their muskets spewed fire, terrifying people who had never seen such weapons. Horses clad in armor charged forward, trampling warriors and breaking their lines.
But the Maya did not flee. They fought. They set ambushes in the jungle, struck at night, and burned Spanish camps. They feared nothing, for dying in battle meant joining the gods. Yet the odds were against them. The Spaniards left the Yucatan, but they promised to return with an even larger army, with greater fire and brutality. And the Spaniards brought a weapon no Maya ruler had ever known: disease, smallpox, measles, typhus, diseases unknown in the New World. They did not kill the Spaniards quickly. Europeans had built up immunity over centuries, but the Maya had none. People died by the hundreds, then thousands, then entire cities. Priests called to the gods, but there was no answer. They sacrificed more, ripped out more hearts, but the gods remained silent. Cities became graveyards. The Spaniards didn't even have to fight. The diseases were already doing the work for them. Even as the Spaniards stomped across the lands of the Aztecs and Incas, and new colonies rose on the bones of ancient civilizations, the Maya still held on. Their story didn't end in a single night, and it wasn't tied to just one city. They fought to the last. Their remaining cities remained free, like islands of light, amid the darkness of conquest. The Spaniards called them stubborn and cruel barbarians. But in truth, the Maya simply refused to surrender. They had no single king like the Aztecs, no capital whose fall would mean the end of everything. Their civilization was woven from countless city-states, each fighting for itself, its land, and its gods. The conquest of the Yucatan stretched over more than a century and a half. One by one, the Spaniards crushed cities, destroyed temples, and killed priests. Yet somewhere in the jungles, a new military leader would rise. Somewhere else, priests whispered prayers to Kukulkan. Somewhere new altars were built to offer sacrifices and call back the gods.
But eventually, all the cities fell. The last to resist was Tayasal, a city perched on an island in the middle of Lake Peten it saw. Its massive walls reflected in the waters, as if the city floated between two worlds, the realm of ancient gods and the world of conquerors. Tayasal remained free when all other Maya lands had fallen. Here, sacrifices to the old gods still took place, and the voices of spirits dwelling in the jungle were still remembered. The Spanish couldn't simply storm the city. The island, surrounded by water, was a natural fortress. The ruler of Tayasal, Khan Ek, knew the Spanish were strong, cunning, and ruthless. But he also knew that if the city fell, his people would face slavery or death. At first, he tried to negotiate, hoping to preserve his power and protect his gods. He believed it might be possible to find a compromise and avoid destruction. But he was wrong. In 1697, the Spanish, led by Martín de Ursúa, approached Lake Peten it saw with cannons, soldiers, and fire capable of burning entire cities. They built boats to cross the lake, and when their fleet was ready, they struck at the last city of the free Maya. Tayasal fell in fire and blood. The Spanish razed it to the ground. They destroyed the temples, burned all the books, and killed those who refused to submit. With the fall of Tayasal, the era of the independent Maya civilization came to an end. Burning of the books and the loss of knowledge. But the Spanish didn't just destroy their cities, they obliterated the very memory of the Maya. The Maya were, among many things, keepers of knowledge. Their scholars understood numbers, stars, and the movements of planets. They calculated eclipses, created complex calendars, and grasped the concept of zero long before Europeans. They wrote books that preserved the history of their people, their myths, and their science.
When the Spanish arrived, these books became a source of fear. Bishop Diego de Landa declared that the Maya books were works of the devil, containing false knowledge contrary to the Christian God. He ordered every codex, inscription, and record he could find to be gathered and burned. In the central square of the Spanish settlement, a massive fire was lit. Scrolls, books, wooden tablets engraved with symbols, all were thrown into the flames. Centuries of knowledge went up in smoke. The Maya watched as their history died before their eyes. They saw their world vanish in the fire, black clouds carrying away the words of their ancestors, their prayers, their science, and their life. Later, Diego de Landa wrote in his report, "We found many books, but since they contained nothing but superstitions and devilish inventions, we burned them." These words devastated the indigenous people to the core. They weren't just saddened, they were hollowed out from within. Of the thousands of books that once existed in Maya civilization, only 4 have survived to this day. Yet even amid the ashes, memory did not vanish entirely. Descendants of the priests could no longer write in their native script, so they began recording their stories in Spanish, using Latin letters, but in their own language. This is how the Popol Vuh came into being, a book of myths and legends, telling of the creation of the world, ancient gods, and heroes. And the books of Chilam Balam, collections of prophecies, predictions, and fragments of history, secretly recorded in fear of the Spanish. These works couldn't replace the books that were lost, but they preserved the voice of an ancient people. Maya gods, Chak, its Namna, and the journey of the soul.
When the Spanish burned their cities, shattered their temples, and declared their gods defeated, the Maya did not stop believing. They knew the true gods do not die or vanish. They remained in the sunlight, in the sound of rain, and in the whisper of the wind. The Maya understood that their lives were intertwined with the deities. Every day, every harvest, every victory or defeat was the result of divine will. If the rains were late, Chak was angered. If the year was bountiful, Kukulkan was pleased. And when someone died, their soul journeyed to Xibalba, the underworld of the gods of death. Their belief did not divide the world into simple good and evil. The gods could be merciful, but they could also punish. They demanded obedience, adherence to tradition, and offerings. Without this, the world could vanish, just as great cities disappeared, abandoned by humans and swallowed by the jungle. Among all gods, Kukulkan was one of the greatest and most revered. He embodied both the power of the serpent and the lightness of the bird, bridging 2 worlds, the earthly and the celestial. Legends say Kukulkan came from the east, teaching people writing, science, and craft. He gave them laws, taught them to build cities, and created rituals meant to maintain order in the world. He was depicted as a giant feathered serpent. Sometimes he appeared in human form, but with a serpent's head or adorned with feathers. In Maya art, he always looked powerful and serene, radiating knowledge and authority. Kukulkan symbolized civilization, order, and wisdom. Because of him, the Maya believed they were a chosen people, capable of understanding the laws of time and space. But one day, he departed. Legends say Kukulkan came from the east, sailing beyond the horizon, promising to return one day. When the Spanish arrived on the shores of Yucatan, some Maya remembered this myth. Could Hernan Cortés be Kukulkan returning?
Had he come to take back what was once left behind?
But Cortez did not bring them the light of knowledge. He brought only destruction. Life in these lands depended on rain. Fields and rivers dried, and people suffered from hunger. That is why Chak was one of the most important gods. He was seen as a mighty spirit of water, capable of summoning storms, filling wells, granting harvests, or bringing drought. Chak could be benevolent when honored and cruel when forgotten. To gain his favor, the Maya held ceremonies, threw offerings into cenotes, and sometimes even human sacrifices. The priest said that Chak lived in the heavens, controlling the flow of water from above. Sometimes he was depicted holding a coiled serpent in his hand, lightning spewing from its mouth. If the rains delayed for too long, people knew he was angry. Then they would offer sacrifices, children, young women, or warriors, casting them into deep cenotes, filled with cold water. They believed their souls could persuade Chak to release the rain. When the first rumble of thunder echoed in the distance, when the first raindrop touched the parched earth, people knew he had heard them. Long before the sun and the moon, before the first humans breathed air, and the world took shape, there was Itzamna. He was the first being, the force that brought everything into existence. Not a god in the usual sense. He was the eternal beginning, present even before time itself. The Maya believed he wove the world together, linking sky and earth, creating harmony among the elements. He was not cruel or demanding. Like many other gods, he did not thirst for blood or demand constant sacrifices. Instead, he bestowed knowledge, protected the wise, and watched over priests and rulers.
Legends say Itzamna created the world by separating sky and earth, much like a craftsman cuts fabric. He raised the heavens, establishing 13 levels where gods and spirits dwelled. Then he formed the earth, giving it 9 levels leading to the underworld, Xibalba. Between them, he left space for humans, animals, and plants. At first, the earth was bare, empty, and still. Then Itzamna created the sun to bring life to the world, and the moon to light the nights. After that, he made the first humans. Unlike the gods, they were weak and mortal. He gave them fire for warmth, maize to sustain them, and language so they could speak. Then he stepped into the shadows. His mission was complete. The world existed, and time began. Priests believed he had not vanished completely. He watches over humans from the heavens. He does not interfere in their daily affairs like other gods, but if balance is disturbed, he will return to restore it. Unlike Chak, who demanded blood for rain, or Kuku Khan, who punished those who disobeyed his laws, Itzamna required no sacrifices. He was a god of wisdom, honored with incense smoke, colorful prayers, and offerings of crafted goods. If Itzamna welcomed creation, Apuch awaited every living being at the moment life faded. He did not appear while people were strong, but lingered in the shadows, knowing that sooner or later everyone would face him. Apuch looked every bit the lord of the underworld. His face was a grinning skull with empty eye sockets and cold hands that stole the warmth of life. Necklaces of eyeballs adorned him, and his cloak was woven from shadows. He did not arrive unexpectedly. Owls, mice, and vultures carried the news of his approach. If a guttural owl cry rang out at night, it meant death had already come for someone.
But people did not simply wait for him. They tried to appease him, to slow his steps. Apuch was not a god to whom one could pray for mercy, but he could be fed so that he would not take more lives than necessary. To maintain balance, priests offered sacrifices, warriors, captives, and sometimes even nobles. They believed that if they did not give him a few lives, he would take far more than needed. But it was not always the blood of others that satisfied him. Sometimes the priests made small cuts on themselves, offering a few drops of their own blood to the god of death, hoping to temper his anger. They knew they could not stop him entirely, but they could delay his coming. Its nama gave life, creating and filling the world with breath. Apuch took it, yet tested whether a soul was worthy to be reborn. The Maya understood that this cycle never ceased, that everything in the world existed through the balance of creation and destruction. They worshipped the Creator, but respected death. They celebrated life, yet did not fear its end. Death was not an erasure, it was a new path that every being must take. When a person died, their body remained on earth, but the soul began its long journey downward, into depths hidden from sunlight. The Maya knew death was not the end, but the start of a new trial. Xibalba awaited every soul. This underworld was cold and grim, full of traps and suffering. Once there, the soul found no rest. It had to endure many trials to prove it was worthy of either eternal peace or rebirth. Not every soul completed the journey. Many were lost, trapped forever in the realm of the dead. The Maya did not believe in hell as other cultures did. Xibalba was a place where weakness was punished and the strength of spirit rewarded. It was a vast subterranean land filled with dark halls, rivers of blood, and labyrinths where souls wandered for eternity.
The entrance lay deep underground, behind hidden caves and bottomless cenotes, where humans had cast sacrifices to the gods. In Xibalba, no sun shone, no trees or birds existed, only cold stone chambers, rivers filled with the moans of the dead, and bridges that could collapse at any moment. Here ruled the god of death, Apuch, and his retinue. They did not simply wait for the dead, they tested them, tormented them, and forced them to prove their strength. As soon as a soul left the body, it did not immediately enter Xibalba. A trial awaited, a judgment determining its fate. The Maya believed that the gods of death first examined the person's life, their deeds, the sacrifices they made to the gods, their bravery in battle, their respect for ancestors, and whether they upheld the laws. But this judgment was more than a simple evaluation. The soul had to pass through 9 levels of the underworld, each trial capable of breaking it or granting passage forward. The journey through the underworld was perilous. The gods of Xibalba released no one easily. The Maya told of travelers descending into the realm of the dead, facing countless deadly challenges. One of the first obstacles was the river of blood, which had to be crossed without drowning. If the soul was too weak, it remained there forever. Next came the halls of trial. In the hall of ice, the traveler was gripped by deadly cold, survived only by sheer will. In the hall of fire, flames scorched anyone attempting to pass. In the hall of jaguars, the soul faced bloodthirsty predators leaping from the darkness. In the hall of bats, thousands of creatures swirled, capable of tearing the soul apart. Each challenge tested the strength of will, resilience, and the ability to resist fear.
Those who survived all the trials proved their strength. They could leave Xibalba and either be reborn in a new body
or ascend to the celestial realms where the great spirits dwelled. Those who did not endure were claimed by the gods of death. Their souls remained in the shadowy depths of the underworld, wandering for eternity without finding a way out. Yet the Maya believed that even the weakest spirits did not disappear entirely. They became shadows gliding through the jungle at night, voices whispering in the wind, signs reflected in water. Could one avoid Xibalba? Yes, but not everyone succeeded. The most honorable deaths for the Maya were to fall in battle, die in childbirth, or be offered as a sacrifice to the gods. Such souls did not enter Xibalba. They were carried by the sun gods to live among the stars, among ancestors, those who had earned eternal rest. But ordinary people could not avoid their path. They could only face all the trials and prove themselves worthy of leaving the realm of the dead. For the Maya, death was a journey. They did not fear it, but prepared for it, knowing that the most difficult part began after death. The trials of Xibalba awaited all, but not everyone could survive them. The Maya world rested on a fragile balance between the forces of life and death, between the sunlight and the shadows of the underworld. They believed the universe had collapsed several times already, and if the gods were not honored, it could vanish again. To prevent this, people had to offer the gods their most precious things: blood, life, and strength. This was an exchange established from ancient times. The gods gave life to humans, and humans periodically gave part of themselves, so the universe could continue.
The Maya believed these sacrifices were not senseless cruelty. Every ritual and every drop of blood had a purpose and meaning. And sometimes, to offer the gods a gift, it was not necessary to die in battle or on an altar. Victory in a ritual ball game could suffice. They believed blood was energy, a vital force necessary for the gods. In the beginning of time, the gods themselves had shed their blood to create the world. Humans, therefore, had to return it to sustain existence. But not all blood was equally valuable. The more important the person, the greater the power in their sacrifice. Kings, priests, and noble warriors were the most potent offerings. Their blood was pure, imbued with strength and blessing. Captured warriors were offered to the gods of war. Their deaths symbolized one city's victory over another. Children and young women were sacrificed to Chak, the rain god, whose favor could bring the long-awaited downpour. But not all offerings required death. Sometimes priests gave a portion of their own strength by piercing their tongue, ears, or other limbs, letting the blood flow to be burned and offered to the gods. Every sacrifice was a complex ritual full of symbolism. One of the most famous was the extraction of the heart. This was performed atop pyramids so the gods could see the victim. The person was laid on a stone altar, a specially carved slab that lifted the chest, giving access to the heart. The priest, armed with an obsidian knife, swiftly cut open the chest and removed the still beating heart, raising it to the sky. Blood ran down the steps of the pyramid, while the body was either discarded or ritually consumed. If the victim was a captured warrior, it was believed his strength transferred to the victors.
Decapitation was another method, used to honor the gods of war and the underworld. The victim's hands were bound, placed on a platform, and the priest struck a single blow with an obsidian axe. The head was often displayed on a stand, with blood running through channels to the altar. Drowning in cenotes was also practiced. Cenotes were considered gateways to the underworld. If a victim sank into their depths, they became a messenger between gods and humans. Victims were young people adorned with jade and gold. They were cast into the water, and priests observed. If the victim sank immediately, the gods had accepted them. If they floated, they were retrieved, for they were deemed unworthy. But sometimes the gods did not require blood. They demanded victory. One of the most mysterious Maya traditions was the ballgame, or poktapok. It was not merely a sport, but a ritual in which fate itself was decided. Players could not touch the ball with their hands or feet. They used their shoulders, chests, elbows, and hips. The goal was to strike a heavy rubber ball through a stone hoop mounted high on the court wall. But this was incredibly difficult. The ball weighed several kilograms, and the hoop was nearly 3 meters above the ground. Games could last for hours, and sometimes even days, until one team scored the winning point. This was a symbolic struggle between the forces of light and darkness, day and night, sun and moon. Some games were mere entertainment, but when a game held ritual significance, it could end with a sacrifice. Historians debate who was sacrificed, losers or winners. Some believe that offering the best player was the greatest honor, as he became a messenger between humans and gods.
Either way, the ball game was not merely a contest, it was a ritual upon which the fate of an entire city could depend. When a great ruler died, his funeral was extraordinary. His body was washed with fragrant oils, dressed in the finest garments, and adorned with jade, symbolizing eternal life. The burial itself was unusual. Tombs were hidden deep within pyramids, creating underground passages and chambers filled with offerings. Next to the ruler, they placed jade masks to preserve his face after death, clay vessels with food to prevent hunger in the afterlife, and sacrificial servants and concubines, people who were killed to accompany him in eternity. It was believed that the ruler became a mediator between the human world and the gods, watching over his people and assisting the living from the heavens. Popol Vuh, crystal cherish, and times that are still hidden. Now let us explore how the Maya envisioned the origins of the world. For this, we turn to one of the 4 surviving books, Popol Vuh. Long ago, in times when the world had no form and the sky and earth were a single dark ocean, the gods decided it was time to bring order to chaos. They parted the waters, created mountains, rivers and trees, and filled the sky with the sun and the moon. But that was not enough. In their world there were no beings to remember their names, praise them, or give thanks for the created order. Thus was born the first attempt to create humans. At first, they molded people from clay, but these beings were weak, fragile, unable to speak or hold weapons. They destroyed them and tried again. Next came humans made of wood. They were strong, could walk and work, but inside they remained empty. They knew neither fear nor gratitude. They did not honor the gods, offer sacrifices, or pray at altars.
Angered, the creators sent calamity upon them. Furious beasts tore them apart. Their own dogs devoured them, and houses collapsed on their heads. It was only on the 3rd attempt that the world gained its true inhabitants. The gods created the first humans from maize. Their bones were as strong as the stalks. Their blood flowed like its juice. They were strong, intelligent, remembered their creators, offered sacrifices, and upheld the laws of the world. Thus began the story of humanity. But not all was peaceful in this new world.
the shadows still struggled against the light. One of the greatest battles occurred in the underworld, in Xibalba. Among all Maya stories, the most ancient and legendary is the tale of the hero twins, Hunahpu and Palenque. Once, on the earth, there lived two brothers, Hunahpu and Hunahpu, great ball players. They loved their game, and every day the strikes of their balls shook the air, filling the land with rhythmic thuds. But their merriment reached the depths of Xibalba, where the grim lords of death dwelled. The underworld gods disliked being disturbed, and wishing to punish the audacious mortals, they summoned the brothers to their realm. The brothers could not refuse. They descended into the world shadows. Yet they failed the trials. They were deceived, tortured, and then killed, left forever in the underworld. However, the story did not end there. Hunahpu's spirit did not vanish without a trace. After some time, in the shadow of a great tree, his seed sprouted, a shoot that bore the twins, Hunahpu and Palenque. From early childhood, they were extraordinary, agile, clever, cunning, and strong. When they grew, fate led them once again to the ballgame, and the strikes of their balls again disturbed the underworld.
The lords of Xibalba were enraged once more. They summoned the brothers, hoping to deceive them as they had their father. But this time it was different. The twins knew who they were dealing with. They did not bow to false rulers, did not trust the cunning servants, and did not fall into traps. They were sent into deadly trials, the house of cold, where even souls froze, the house of fire, where flames made breathing impossible, and the house of tigers, where bloodthirsty beasts awaited their prey. But they survived, enduring every trial without a single moment of doubt. Then the lords of death decided to challenge them at their own game, a ball match. It wasn't a pastime, it was a fight to death. They battled in darkness itself, where the night was their weapon and their enemies were the forces of the underworld. They were winning, but the gods of the underworld couldn't let them escape. The twins were tricked, trapped, and slain, their bodies torn apart, their bones scattered along the river. Yet even death couldn't hold them. They turned into fish and then into old men who could perform miracles. Returning to Xibalba, they amazed everyone by bringing the dead back to life. The lords of death, stunned, demanded to see this magic for themselves. They ordered the twins to be killed and revived, but that was exactly what the twins had planned. When they were slain, no one brought them back, and thus the gods of death were defeated. Having conquered darkness, the twins didn't return to Earth. Instead, they ascended to the heavens, where the gods transformed them into the sun and the moon. And every dawn, as the sun rises above the horizon, it reminds humankind of their triumph. They defeated death itself, and as long as their light burns in the sky, their story will never be forgotten. All of this is told in the ancient book the Maya called Popol Vuh. That sacred text survived fire, time, and destruction. It was nearly lost, burned with the temples, erased from the earth, yet its words lived on, passed from mouth to mouth, until someone finally wrote them down again. It's more than a book. It's the voice of the ancestors, a story that will live as long as the sun and moon continue their endless journey across the heavens.
Among all the mysteries of the Maya civilization, one has haunted people's imaginations for over a century: the legend of the 13 crystal skulls. According to legend, they hold ancient knowledge powerful enough to change the fate of humanity. They say that if all 13 are brought together, they will reveal the secrets of creation, warn of coming cataclysms, or even unlock the key to immortality. But where did this story begin? The legend of the crystal skulls was never written in any Maya text. It survived through oral tradition, born from ancient myths that spoke of a mighty civilization, one that existed before humankind and possessed the wisdom of the gods. That ancient civilization vanished long ago, but it left behind 13 artifacts said to contain all its secrets. These skulls were carved from single blocks of pure quartz and were believed to possess mystical powers. They could speak, show visions, and even heal the sick. But to awaken their true power, they had to be brought together at a specific moment, a time, legend says, when humanity stands on the brink of self-destruction. For centuries, the story was dismissed as nothing more than myth. That changed in the early 20th century, when the first of these mysterious relics was discovered deep in the jungles of Belize.
In the early 20s, British adventurer Frederick Mitchell Hedges set out to explore the ruins of an ancient Maya city known as Lubantun. One day, his daughter Anna was wandering through the crumbling temples when something caught her eye, a strange object gleaming in the sunlight. It was a skull carved from a single piece of rock crystal. Its surface was flawlessly polished, and its lower jaw could move just like a real one. When held up to the light, the crystal refracted the sun's rays, filling it with flickers of fire that seemed to dance within. Anna later claimed that not long after the discovery, she began experiencing vivid visions. She saw scenes from the distant past, heard disembodied voices, and felt as though the skull was transmitting ancient knowledge directly to her mind. News of the discovery spread quickly. Scholars, mystics, and scientists alike were drawn to the enigma. Many believed it was a genuine relic of the gods. But soon it became clear that this skull wasn't unique. More began to appear, each with its own strange history. The British Museum houses another quartz skull, purchased from collectors in the 19th century. It too was carved with astonishing precision and was said to have once belonged to Maya priests. Another found its way to Paris, to the Musée de l'Homme. Smaller than the others, it nonetheless displayed an extraordinary level of craftsmanship. Some researchers believed it came from an even older, long-lost civilization. As more skulls were discovered, the legend of the 13 artifacts began to take shape, scattered across the world, waiting to be reunited. Some saw them as gifts from the gods. Others believed they were left behind by ancient visitors from the stars. Still others claimed the skulls could heal, channel wisdom, and reveal the hidden truths of the universe. An intriguing twist came in the early 20th century when the Ahnenerbe, a German organization devoted to uncovering ancient knowledge and occult relics, took an interest in the crystal skulls. They believed, as many still do,
that the Maya, like other great civilizations, once possessed secret knowledge that has since been lost to time. According to some accounts, researchers from the Ananurba sought the crystal skulls, believing they contained encrypted knowledge or even magical powers. Whispers claimed that a few of the skulls actually fell into their hands, though no official records have ever confirmed it. Not everyone, however, was convinced the skulls were genuine. By the late 20th century, new technology allowed scientists to examine the artifacts under powerful microscopes. What they found was startling. There were no traces of ancient tools on their surfaces. If the skulls had truly been crafted by the Maya, they would show the telltale marks of obsidian blades or stone chisels. Instead, researchers discovered microscopic grooves typical of modern metal tools. The British Museum conducted its own investigation and concluded that their skull had been made in France in the 19th century, an era when collectors eagerly bought and sold ancient treasures. Soon after, experts announced that most of the known crystal skulls were likely European fabrications. Yet, despite the scientific verdict, the legend refused to die. Some believe the fakes were modeled after real ancient skulls, the true ones hidden somewhere, waiting to be rediscovered. Others insist that at least a few genuine artifacts once existed, their originals lost to time or locked away in private collections. Anna Mitchell Hedges, until her final days, stood by her story. Her crystal skull was authentic, and it possessed powers beyond explanation.
The Maya left the world countless mysteries, but among their many legends, one of the grandest and most enigmatic is the tale of Kukulkan, the great feathered serpent who brought knowledge, law, and order to humankind. According to myth, Kukulkan came to the Maya from beyond their lands. Unlike other gods, he was described as a magnificent serpent covered with feathers. His body wound through the heavens. He soared like a bird, yet carried the wisdom of the earth-bound snake. Kukulkan not only gave the people laws and understanding, he taught them how to build cities, cultivate their fields, and read the patterns of the stars. It was said that he gifted them the sacred calendar, one that could predict the changing seasons, solar eclipses, and the movements of planets. But Kukulkan was more than a teacher. When the world fell into chaos, when war threatened to tear the cities apart, he would return to restore balance. Legends say that Kukulkan never died. He journeyed across the seas, promising to come back one day. Some say he sailed east toward the rising sun. Others claim he ascended into the heavens, becoming one of the stars. What's most fascinating is that the Maya weren't alone in this belief. Across Mesoamerica, other peoples told remarkably similar stories. The Aztecs, for instance, worshipped a god named Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent, wise and benevolent, just like Kukulkan. And they too said he would one day return. One of the most controversial theories about Kukulkan claims that he was a fair-skinned, bearded man who came from afar. This idea spread widely after the Spanish conquest, when Spanish chroniclers reinterpreted native legends to serve their own narrative.
caves. According to that version, the Maya and Aztecs were supposedly awaiting the return of Kukulkan, a belief that, as the story goes, allowed Hernán Cortés to enter the city without resistance. But modern historians see it differently. They argue that this myth emerged after the Spanish invasion, crafted by the conquerors themselves to legitimize their rule in the eyes of the indigenous peoples. There is no archaeological or anthropological evidence that the Maya or Aztecs had any contact with light-skinned peoples before the arrival of the Spaniards. In the early 20th century, the German organization Ahnenerbe searched for traces of ancient advanced civilizations they believed had once shared their wisdom with the peoples of the Americas. Some accounts suggest that Ahnenerbe researchers studied the myths of Kukulkan and Quetzalcoatl, hoping to find proof of a lost race of sages or a forgotten civilization. Yet there are no official records showing they ever found any artifacts proving contact between the Maya and other cultures. Today, most scholars classify these ideas as pseudoscience.
And that, for a long time, is where the story ended. The great Maya cities fell silent, the jungle moved in, trees rose through the plazas, roots crept through the stone walls of temples that had once held kings. The rain washed the painted walls bare. Century after century, the forest simply took everything back. And here's the strangest part. Even the descendants of the Maya, the people still living on that same land, began to forget. Not because they wanted to, but because the cities had been abandoned for so long that even their grandparents had never seen them in use. They were just ruins in the trees, shapes in the distance, old stones no one knew what to do with. For nearly 1,000 years, the Maya were a lost people, not because they died out, they never really did, but because the world moved on without them, and they without it. Then, one afternoon in the 18th century, a group of farmers walked into the jungle to clear land for a new field, and what they found there would change everything we thought we knew about the Americas.
Let me tell you how we found the Maya again. Today, we're diving into one of the most fascinating civilizations in human history, the Maya. Let's try to figure out who they really were, because whenever the Maya come up, it's always in the same kind of context. The 2012 apocalypse, mysterious wells hundreds of feet deep, a ball game played to the death, mass human sacrifice. And I've only listed the greatest hits. There's plenty more where that came from. But here's the thing, I don't want to just debunk myths. What's way more interesting is asking a different question entirely. Who were these people, actually? The Maya were a genuinely parallel branch of human civilization. They were brewing booze from cacao, played ball with the heads of their enemies, and never invented the wheel. Why? The answer is actually pretty surprising, but we'll get to that. Here's the really strange part, though. When the Spanish arrived on these lands, the Maya civilization was already gone, had been for centuries, which raises an obvious question. If it didn't exist anymore, how do we know anything about it at all? You might think the answer is simple. Columbus discovers America, the Spanish sail over, they run into the Aztecs, the Incas, the Maya, and there you go. But the reality is far more complicated.
By the time the conquistadors arrived, the Maya civilization had been dead for centuries. So long ago, in fact, that even the local descendants had almost no memory of their own ancestors. To the rest of the world, the Maya appeared out of nowhere. In the mid-1700s, in the Mexican state of Chiapas, farmers were clearing jungle to plant crops when they stumbled into the ruins of a strange temple. It turned out to be the ruins of Palenque, a Maya city from the 6th century AD. They kept digging, Chichen Itza, Uxmal, and more. It became clear the jungle had been hiding the ruins of an extraordinary civilization. But how was it even possible that the Maya's own descendants had no idea this had existed?
And here there's a story worth telling, because Palenque is also where one of the most surprising archaeological discoveries happened. In 1952, a Mexican archaeologist named Alberto Ruiz Lullier noticed something odd in the floor of the temple at the top of one of the pyramids, a stone slab with holes in it. He started digging. After years of excavation, he found a burial chamber beneath the pyramid. Inside lay a Maya king named Tikal, jade mask on his face, jade ornaments on every finger. Before this discovery, scholars assumed Maya pyramids were just temples, no tombs inside. But now it was clear. Just like Egyptian pharaohs, Maya kings built pyramids as their eternal homes. The Egyptians had been doing this for millennia. The Maya had kept it a secret, buried underground for nearly 1,500 years. Let's back up. Here's what happened. When the Spanish conquered Maya lands in the 15th century, they destroyed the local nobility, looted and burned cities, and basically turned the survivors into forced labor. The very word Maya fell out of use. The descendants living on the Yucatan Peninsula called themselves by the Spanish word Indio, just Indians. And then suddenly, it turned out these same lands were covered in ruins of a powerful civilization with pyramids that rivaled or even surpassed those of Egypt. At the time, Mexico belonged to Spain, ruled by King Charles III, a monarch who invested heavily in culture and science. Around the same period, Pompeii had just been excavated in Italy, a Roman city perfectly preserved by the eruption of Mount Vesuvius. Charles funded those digs and then had a thought. What if there's something equally remarkable in my own territories overseas? Turns out there was. He created a new official position,
historian of the Indies, plural because nobody at the time really thought it through. They'd been looking for a sea route to India, found something else entirely, and just kind of went with it. From that point on, the systematic study of ancient American civilizations began. Throughout the 19th century, European researchers were in a state of genuine cultural shock. The contrast between the contemporary native population and these massive, sophisticated structures was staggering. So, the first hypothesis was predictable. Someone, anyone other than the native people, must have built this. The theories were endless: Phoenicians, descendants of Hercules, Celts, Atlanteans. Europeans were ready to believe literally anything rather than admit the indigenous people had built it themselves. Psychologically, they just couldn't accept it.
Eventually, thankfully, historians ran out of creative alternatives and gradually concluded, yes, the locals built it. They'd just gone through some rough centuries. So, what does modern science actually say? Here's what we know for certain. The ancestors of the Maya arrived in the Americas tens of thousands of years ago and had to build a civilization from scratch. No familiar animals, no familiar crops, a genuinely parallel world. One interesting detail: according to linguistic analysis, the Maya originally lived somewhere in Northern California, or what's now Oregon, which means a Guatemalan immigrant moving to the US today is, in a sense, just going home. Think about that for a second. Now here's where the terminology gets complicated, because Maya isn't a single people. It's a large group of peoples. Today, about 6 million people identify as Maya. In ancient times, there were at most around 10 million. They were different cities and different groups spread across most of Central America, speaking different languages and with different histories. Think of them like the Germanic peoples, Germans, Swedes, Dutch, all related but completely distinct. And for scale, the largest Maya cities had populations comparable to medieval London or Paris. These weren't villages, they were genuine metropolises of their era. So keep this in mind. If you ever read something about the Lacandon people, keepers of ancient Maya wisdom, that's nonsense. The Lacandons are related to the Maya, but they're a completely different group with no real connection to the classical Maya civilization. Now, let's talk about the setting, because this is where things get really interesting, an environment that simultaneously made the Maya geniuses and destroyed their civilization. The quick version: to the north was the Yucatan Peninsula, jungle, intense heat, and almost no rivers. And that's exactly what gave rise to one of the Maya mysteries, the cenotes. Cenotes are sacred wells, massive sinkholes filled with water that the Maya believed led directly to the land of the dead. Sacrifices were made at cenotes, not to the gods, but literally to the wells themselves. In Chichen Itza, for example, there was a sacred cenote nearly 200 feet across. Gold ornaments, valuables, and, during droughts, people too, according to Spanish chronicles. In the 20th century, archaeologists dove to the bottom of one of these wells. They found human bones.
But here's the obvious question. What are these things exactly? No rivers, no lakes, just these enormous stone sinkholes full of water. What's going on? The answer is actually pretty straightforward. The Yucatan is essentially one giant limestone slab riddled with voids and cracks. Rainwater seeps in and collects underground. Not much water up top, but plenty below. Under those conditions, cenotes were the only reliable water source. And from there, it's not a big leap to sacred status. Here's one of the most surprising facts about the Maya, discovered only in 2020. It turns out the Maya were purifying the water in these cenotes using zeolite, a natural mineral that filters contaminants and kills bacteria. About 2,000 years ago, they were already using technology that modern science now uses in industrial water filters. For comparison, in medieval Europe at the same time, sewage ran through the streets. Children of the jungle? Try hydrological engineers ahead of their time.
The best lands were in the middle. Fertile soil, rivers, warm climate. The Maya called this region the land of the deer because game was abundant: turkeys, peccaries, monkeys. It was here, in what's now Belize, around 1800 BC, that Cuello was founded, the oldest known Maya city. Now, the answer to the wheel question I asked at the start. In Asia and Europe, the wheel was invented to pull carts, but carts need draft animals: horses, donkeys, oxen. The Maya had none of those, no large domestic livestock at all. Not because they were lazy or primitive. Those animals simply didn't exist in Central America. What they did have: turkeys, dogs, pigeons, and ducks. And speaking of dogs, the Maya had dogs for every purpose: guard dogs, companion dogs, and food. Young, castrated male dogs fattened on corn were considered a delicacy. So why invent a wheel when you have nothing to pull it? No reason to. Goods were carried by hand or transported by boat. That's the whole story. Without draft animals, farming looked very different. They had to invent everything from scratch. Corn, for example, is entirely a human creation. Wild corn produces 1 kernel per cob. Modern corn is the product of thousands of years of selective breeding. Today, it can't even crossbreed with its wild ancestor. Beyond corn, the Maya grew beans, peppers, and amaranth, and cacao, though not the way we think of it. The Maya made a mildly alcoholic drink from the pulp of the cacao fruit, not from the ground beans. Didn't taste great, apparently, but caffeine plus alcohol, basically the ancient Maya version of a Four Loko. Cacao beans were also used as currency. Early in the Spanish conquest, a Spanish unit robbed a Maya merchant's canoe. They took the gold and threw out the bag of beans. The Maya were baffled. One more detail about everyday life. The Maya kept stingless bees, tiny ones, the size of gnats. They lived in hollowed-out logs hung under the eaves of houses, essentially multi-story hive towers. The honey was valued as medicine and a trade good, another form of currency alongside cacao. In some parts of Mexico and Guatemala, people still raise these bees using the exact same method today.
These conditions, no livestock, primitive farming, a limited crop base,
are ultimately what killed Maya civilization. But more on that in a moment. How do we know any of this? Mostly archaeology. There are no written records about the earliest cities. But around 2,000 years ago, the Maya invented writing, and then they couldn't stop. They were obsessed with inscriptions. They labeled everything they could reach: palaces, storage buildings. Every structure got a construction date. Their calendar tracked the movements of the sun, moon, and Venus simultaneously. Their math was complex enough to make a modern accountant's head spin. Speaking of dates, you probably remember the whole 2012 end of the world thing. People were building bunkers, stockpiling supplies. The ancient Maya would have been completely baffled. The whole panic came from a basic cultural misunderstanding. The Maya had a unit of time called a baktun. 13 baktuns made up a sun era, about 5,125 years. In 2012, a new era was simply beginning, a purely astronomical event, interesting mostly to mathematicians and astronomers. No apocalypse. Somewhere in the 1970s, during the New Age movement, some American esotericist latched on to a Maya prophecy, and it snowballed from there. The whole thing was nonsense from the start.
But here's where the calendar story gets even stranger. Because the Maya weren't just tracking the sun, they were obsessed with Venus. To the Maya, Venus wasn't a romantic symbol, it was a war planet. Its appearance in the morning sky was considered an omen, the right moment to launch a campaign, capture a king, or consecrate a new ruler. Maya astronomers tracked Venus for centuries, recording its cycles with obsessive precision. And here's the part that's genuinely hard to believe. They calculated the Venusian year, the time it takes Venus to complete a full cycle as seen from Earth, to within roughly 2 minutes of the value modern science gives us. No telescopes, no instruments beyond the naked eye, a dark sky, and a very long list of observations passed down across generations. For comparison, European astronomers working at the same time with access to Greek mathematical traditions and relatively sophisticated instruments weren't doing better. In some cases, they were doing worse. The Dresden Codex, one of only 4 surviving Maya books, contains a 104-year Venus table that still impresses astronomers today. It's not just a list of dates, it includes correction factors. The Maya noticed their own rounding errors accumulating over decades and built in adjustments to keep the table accurate across centuries. That's not mysticism, that's applied science. Beyond calendrical inscriptions, the Maya recorded coronations, military victories, and major events. They also had books, codices, folded like accordions, made from deer hide. But those books were useless to historians for a long time. Having texts is only helpful if you can read them. And that was a serious problem until the mid-20th century. Decades of research, the best minds in Europe, expeditions into the jungle. Nothing. And then it was solved by a man who'd never been to Mexico, working not in the field, but in an ordinary Moscow office. His name was Yuri Knorozov. And here's the most absurd part of this story. While hundreds of Western scholars spent years hunched over hieroglyphs in the field, the answer had been sitting in plain sight. In the 16th century, a Spanish priest named Diego de Landa
compiled a list of Maya glyphs and decided each one corresponded to a letter of the Latin alphabet. Reasonable idea, except he got the fundamental concept completely wrong. A Maya glyph isn't a letter, it's a syllable. One conceptual mistake by one person, and the entire field was stuck for 300 years. Knorozov took Delanda's exact same list, asked the right question, and the language opened up. In 1952, he published a paper that changed everything. The reaction in the West was predictable. How could a Soviet scholar who'd never even seen these jungles understand the Maya better than our own specialists working right there on the Yucatan? He was dismissed for years. But when he presented his decipherment tables, there was nothing left to argue with. Knorozov was right. A complete decipherment still doesn't exist, but we now know enough to read the majority of texts. And when scholars finally opened those books, an entire ancient world opened up with them. Let's go back now to the Yucatan many centuries ago. The most iconic Maya structures are the pyramids. A lot of people want to connect them to Egypt. Pyramids there, pyramids here. The civilizations must have been in contact, right? Nope. This is convergent evolution, the same phenomenon that gives butterflies, birds, and bats all have wings, but those wings are completely different structures with completely different evolutionary histories.
A pyramid is essentially just a mound, the most structurally stable shape you can build. Any pile of earth over a chief's grave is already, in some sense, a pyramid. The logic follows from there. The more powerful the state, the more impressive the ruler wants his burial mound. At some point, someone stacked one mound on top of another, and then another, and you have a step pyramid. Egypt's first pyramid, by the way, the Pyramid of Djoser, was exactly that. The Egyptians later figured out how to smooth the sides into a solid triangle. The Maya never got there. But their pyramids don't suffer for it. The La Danta Pyramid in Guatemala, at around 260 feet tall, is one of the largest in the world. And here's something you can literally hear. Stand at the base of El Castillo at Chichen Itza and clap your hands. The echo that comes back sounds exactly like the chirp of the Quetzal, the sacred bird. Coincidence? Acoustical engineers who've studied the pyramid don't think so. The Maya designed it so the stone itself would speak in the voice of a god. Egypt's Pyramid of Djoser can't do that. Maya pyramids sing. Now, the Maya weren't even the first advanced civilization in the Americas. The Maya Classic period runs roughly from the 3rd to the 8th century AD, the same era as the fall of Rome and early medieval Europe. By that point, two earlier civilizations had already risen and collapsed in Mexico, the Olmec and the Teotihuacan. For the Maya at their peak, these civilizations were as ancient Greece is to us. The Maya considered them their teachers, not their contemporaries. Maya rulers traced their ancestry back to Teotihuacan. Speaking of rulers, the Maya never had a single unified state. In the Classic period, there were dozens of small kingdoms. Each was led by an adyao, literally, the one who speaks loudly. Funny title, honestly, though the Aztec word Tlatoani, meaning ruler, translates roughly the same way. There was apparently something common in how Mesoamerican cultures thought about power. One notable detail, women could be adyao. By any standard of indigenous American civilization, that's remarkably progressive. We don't see anything comparable among neighboring peoples. And here's where it turns into a genuine political thriller.
because relations between Maya cities weren't just wars. This was medieval-level political intrigue played out in the jungle. Cities spied on each other, made secret alliances, betrayed allies at exactly the right moment. Winners erected stelae, stone monuments in the main plazas of conquered cities with inscriptions that essentially read, "We captured their king, we humiliated their gods, they serve us now." It wasn't just about winning, it was about publicly destroying your enemy's reputation. A city might spend years waiting for a neighbor to weaken from internal conflict before striking at exactly the worst moment. Sometimes the winner didn't even kill the conquered king. They left him on the throne as a puppet who paid tribute while pretending to rule. It was basically Game of Thrones, just swap the dragons for human sacrifice.
Now, let's talk about Maya society. There are two popular myths. Either the Maya were peaceful, sun-worshipping vegans or bloodthirsty cannibals. In the mid-20th century, a theory developed that the Maya didn't really like fighting. They'd show up, figure out who was tougher, grab some prisoners, and head home. But that came entirely from translation errors. Researchers reading stelae inscriptions saw one-day war and drew the wrong conclusions. Those stelae were celebrating victories, not wars. It's like saying World War II happened on VJ Day in August 1945. We now have enough documentation to be clear. Maya cities fought constant, full-scale wars, invasions, captured prisoners, burned cities. And yes, there were even fairly large states, like the Kanul Kingdom, which literally translates as Sacred Empire. What about the sacrifices? Half myth, half reality. All Mesoamerican cultures had ritual practices that left the Spanish conquistadors genuinely horrified. Even the mild-mannered rain god Chalk was depicted as a monster. The rituals matched. The Maya had a blood cult. They believed the gods literally craved human blood, especially the blood of nobility, which was considered more powerful. The practice looked something like this. A person would pierce their tongue, earlobes, or lips, let the blood drip onto tree bark, and then burn it. The blood was believed to travel with the smoke to the gods. The most dedicated practitioners would push it far enough to induce hallucinations from blood loss. In that kind of society, that was considered direct communication with the divine. But bloodletting wasn't the extreme. According to archaeological finds, the Maya also used hallucinogenic enemas. Specialized vessels and tubes for this procedure have been found at multiple excavation sites. The mixture was absorbed directly, producing a much faster and more powerful effect than drinking it. A priest could be in a full trance within minutes. From a Western perspective, completely insane. From the Maya perspective, the most efficient way to talk to gods. And while we're on the subject of bodies and status, Maya nobility had their teeth inlaid with precious stones. Jade, pyrite, turquoise. Using a plant resin adhesive with antiseptic properties. The teeth didn't rot. The stones stayed in place for years. Modern dentists who've examined these findings have been impressed. The technique was genuinely sophisticated. It wasn't just decoration, it was a permanent mark of status, literally embedded in the body. Forever. Unlike the Aztecs, who ran a full-scale sacrifice operation,
The Maya weren't there initially. War prisoners were sacrificed, sure, beheaded first, then the rest. But after contact with the Aztecs, the Maya adopted some of their practices. Hearts were ripped from living prisoners, others were tied to trees and shot with arrows, or quartered. After the ritual killing, the priest would skin the body, wear the skin, and dance. The body was eaten. Not exactly a dinner party. Treatment of prisoners varied by status. A brave warrior who held himself with dignity in captivity was treated with respect. They still cut his head off, but respectfully. Particularly high-status prisoners could be held for years while priests waited for the stars to align on the right day. If a prisoner begged for mercy or broke down, they were humiliated and degraded before execution. Now let's talk about the famous ball game. The popular image is that the losing team got sacrificed. That's not quite right. First of all, this wasn't football. The point was to keep the ball moving. The ball represented the sun, which must never stop. There was something like a basketball hoop, but scoring wasn't the main objective. Just keep it in the air. And now about the ball itself. Solid rubber spheres weighing around 220 pounds. About the weight of a full-grown adult, but made of rubber. Players wore stone padding to avoid getting crushed. They hit the ball with their shoulders and hips. Compared to this, rugby is a children's game.
And about that ball, it's worth pausing here, because rubber itself is one of the most underrated Maya contributions to human civilization. When Europeans first encountered rubber in the Americas, they had no idea what to do with it. It was sticky in heat, brittle in cold, and fell apart within a season. An American inventor named Charles Goodyear spent years trying to figure out how to stabilize it, working obsessively, running up debts, doing experiments on his kitchen stove. In 1839, he finally cracked it. Vulcanization, mixing rubber with sulfur under heat. It made him famous, but not rich. He died broke, buried under patent lawsuits. The tire company, Goodyear, by the way, has nothing to do with him personally. It was named in his honor decades after his death by founders who wanted to cash in on the association. He never saw a cent of it. But here's the thing. The Maya had been doing something functionally equivalent for at least 3,500 years before him. They mixed latex from the rubber tree with juice from the morning glory vine, a specific species, Ipomea alba, and the result was a stable, elastic, durable material. Different chemistry, same principle. Archaeologists have found rubber balls at Olmec and Maya sites dating back to 1600 BC. The Maya weren't just playing a game. They were working with a material that the entire industrialized world would spend centuries trying to recreate and wouldn't manage until the 19th century. Goodyear never knew. The formula was sitting in the jungle the whole time. Ball courts were everywhere. Royal palaces, small towns, you name it. This was mass culture, like soccer in Latin America today. Warriors trained with it instead of going to the gym. As for sacrificing the losing team, there's no evidence of that in the sources, though there was plenty of other grim stuff. Like using a prisoner's severed head, coated in rubber, as the ball. It's worth noting that Maya civilization developed slowly, from a European perspective at least. The first cities appeared around the same time as ancient Egypt, but 2,000 years later, they hadn't seemed to advance much.
That's not because they were less intelligent. They were working under far harsher constraints. No rivers like the Nile, no draft animals, no familiar crops. And all of that ultimately led to catastrophe. And then something happened. In the span of a few decades, the civilization simply collapsed. City after city was abandoned, swallowed by the jungle, and stayed that way until the 15th century. This is the real Maya mystery. What happened? No foreign invasion, no volcanic eruption, no epidemic. The civilization just ended.
We don't know much about this period, but some things are clear. In the final decades before the collapse, Maya cities were in total chaos. Dynasties broke down. Unknown figures seized thrones. The bones of that era show that even kings were starving. The food was gone. There's a theory that explains it, and it connects directly to what we talked about earlier. Remember the farming cycle? Burn a section of jungle, plant corn and beans, clear a new section a few years later, repeat. That system only works with a limited population. By the 8th century, Maya cities held several million people, enormous for an agrarian society in a small geographic area. Endless fields surrounded the cities. The soil was exhausted. The forests were gone. One bad harvest, one drought, one stretch of heavy rain, and famine. The Maya became victims of their own success. The more they built and multiplied, the faster they destroyed the very environment that fed them. By the 10th century, classical Maya civilization had ceased to exist. But the Maya themselves didn't disappear, and this matters. There's a persistent myth that the Spanish didn't really conquer the Maya because they'd already destroyed themselves. That's about as wrong as the crystal skull theories, just aimed at a more intellectually pretentious audience. Yes, when the conquistadors arrived, some Maya cities, including Chichen Itza, were already ruins. But the Maya aren't a monolith. The civilization collapsed only in the central zone, in what's now Guatemala. In the north, on the Yucatan Peninsula, cities kept standing. There was a classical Maya civilization, and there was a post-classical one. The northern Maya, oddly enough, survived precisely because their conditions were worse to begin with. Lower population density, the ecology held. The Spanish had to take them one city at a time. The last independent Maya city, Tayasal, fell only in 1697. For context, in Europe at that point, newspapers were being printed and operas were being performed. But the story doesn't end there, because in the 19th century, something happened that defies easy explanation except one. The Maya came back. Here's what happened. In 1847, the Maya of Yucatan launched a rebellion against Mexican authorities. It's called the Caste War. At first, they were winning. They took back almost the entire peninsula. Then, the Mexican military regrouped, and by 1850, the rebels had been crushed, scattered through the jungle, starving, no leadership, no hope. And then, at that lowest possible point, a cross in the jungle started speaking. A man named Jose Maria Barrera found a wooden cross carved with words in the jungle. He announced it was a divine sign.
that the cross was speaking and saying exactly what the people needed to hear. The Maya were chosen by God. The war would continue. Victory was coming. People came from across the peninsula. The context was perfect. A defeated people living in the jungle with no future. Those are exactly the people most likely to believe in a miracle.
But here's where it gets truly interesting. The cross didn't just inspire, it governed. A designated priest-interpreter read the cross's messages aloud. The cross demanded the war continue. The cross named traitors. The cross promised specific victories in specific battles. Someone very smart was making political decisions and routing them through a religious channel that nobody could argue with. To question the cross was to question God. Historians still debate whether this was a genuine religious phenomenon or a calculated operation. Because the cross apparently spoke through a small hole in the back wall of the shrine. Some researchers believe a person was simply hiding back there, whispering the right words at the right moment. If that's true, it's one of the most sophisticated political tricks in the history of the Americas. Either way, it worked. A whole city grew up around the talking cross, Chan Santa Cruz. An army formed. The state held out for decades, repelling one Mexican military expedition after another. People believed, partly because the cross promised victories, and victories did happen. It's a closed loop. Faith gives strength, strength gives victory, victory reinforces faith. The Mexican government didn't finally eliminate this state until the early 20th century, and it took machine guns and armored trains to do it. So here's where I'll leave you. The Maya aren't ancient ruins. There are almost 6 million of them alive today. A people who survived ecological catastrophe, feudal warfare, and conquest, and still kept themselves together. They didn't vanish into the jungle. They're just waiting for their moment.
6 million people. That's how many Maya there are in the world today. They live in Guatemala, in southern Mexico, in parts of Honduras and Belize. They speak more than 30 different Maya languages: Yucatec, Quiche, Cachiquel, Tzotzil, and many more. Some of those languages have almost no speakers left. Others are taught in schools, printed in books, sung on the radio, and in all of them, you can still hear the echoes of the old words. The same words their ancestors used to name the stars. The same words carved into the walls of Palenque and Copan. The same words whispered by the priests who counted the cycles of Venus and measured the length of a year to within seconds of the truth. You've probably heard the rumor, the one about December 21st, 2012, the end of the world, the Maya calendar running out of time. It was never actually that, of course. The Maya calendar didn't end, it just turned over to a new great cycle, the way a car's odometer turns over from 999,000 to 100,000. Not the end of the road, just a new digit, a new beginning for those who were counting. And that, in a way, is the whole story of the Maya. People who learned a very long time ago that time is a circle, that civilizations rise and civilizations quiet down, but they don't really end. They just wait for the next turning of the great wheel. 6 million people are still here, still speaking their languages, still waiting, still part of the story. And maybe, just maybe, the next great cycle of the Maya is only getting started. Sleep well.